Time for a snack. Prize inside. What the?
Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure.
All joking aside, I would like to give a transparent and honest review of the new Scuba 50 Fathoms, a collaboration within the Swatch group between Swatch and Blancpain, brands that sit far from each other within that group in terms of price and quality hierarchy. And perhaps it is that drastic marriage of these two brands that makes this watch so intriguing to me. Now, this is the Atlantic Ocean variation. There will be 5 different ocean-themed editions, each one with a varied screened nudie branch on the clear plastic movement rotor. And I would like to say, just right off the bat, I want to make it clear that this watch is very fun. I'm a fan. It is a playful, bordering on whimsical release, and I do think that it is of a higher noticeable quality than a Bioceramic Moonswatch, and I personally prefer this 50 Fathoms Oceanic celebration to the planetary celebration of the Moonswatch. And no, this watch does not come as a free toy within a bag of Cracker Jacks. No, that was my poor attempt at humor. This will come brand new in this box, and it is a nice and solid feeling box, unlike the Moonswatch packaging, and this watch will sit within a ballistic nylon traveling tote. The retail price will be $400, and sadly, it is only available from select brick and mortar Swatch boutiques. So yes, I do think that Swatch would sell far more if they were, just easier to come by, say available worldwide online. But perhaps the Swatch group just doesn't want to quickly flood the market and end up with buyer burnout. I think they trickle them into the boutique system, and doing so, that will ensure constant demand and, for better or worse, a more memorable purchasing experience. Now, since I reside nowhere near a qualifying Swatch boutique, I bought this one at a premium over StockX, and although it is never fun paying a premium, it was nice to skip the hassle of trying to source one in store and just have it delivered quickly, to my office. Now let's talk about quality. I mentioned that this is noticeably nicer than a Moonswatch, and this is apparent in the printing, it's apparent in the dial details, the Lume application, the strap, and the presentation box. And although it is smaller than a traditional titanium 50 Fathoms, I think it is ideally sized at 42 millimeters and fits very comfortably on wrist. Now, the Swatch group did an excellent job at recreating the proper fonts, the proper handset, the markers, and the overall proportions found on the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. This bezel is even loomed like the bigger and far more expensive elder brother. To be fair though, this still feels like a plastic Swatch in terms of weight, and then that smooth finish on this bioceramic material. Now, what is bioceramic? It is actually a hybrid material comprised mostly of ceramic, 66% ceramic, with the remaining 1/3 a mixture of biosourced material taken from castor plant oil. Now, yes, it is lightweight, it is scratch resistant, and it is strong, but in my opinion, it's not a material that sounds appealing from an advertising perspective. Imagine this, quote, "My watch is partially made from a biosourced material coming from castor plant oil." End quote. It's not really clear what that is. Why not just say that it is part ceramic and part polymer, or even it's part ceramic and part bioplastic? I think that sounds better than mostly ceramic, but also biosourced material taken from castor plant oil. Perhaps that sounds more fancy, or it sounds less cheap, but it just doesn't roll off the tongue, and it is more effective at creating questions than it is at being descriptive. Now let's talk about the bezel action. This is very good. The alignment on my example is not perfect, but it is not at Seiko levels of being misaligned. And yes, this has a great sound, an easy grip, no backplay, and it does require, in my opinion, the perfect amount of torque to make the spin here of the bezel. Now the crystal and bezel are also made out of that same biosourced material, but it will be coated with an anti-scratch coating, and in a week wearing this watch nonstop 24/7, the crystal and bezel on my example have not scratched, and I think that is a good improvement from the Moonswatch, whose crystal could seemingly get scratched with a cleaning cloth. Now this lume is grade A superluminova. It's a nice application on the white handset, but with the rest of the markers and the indexing, they just don't last long in low light conditions. And after a full charge, it really degrades quickly. But here is where the watch surprised me a little bit. It comes down to the strap. I was expecting a low grade, cheap feeling NATO, and this is premium feeling. It's thin, it's comfortable, and it's nice to have the bioceramic hardware, the matching hardware. Unfortunately, textile watch straps just don't hold up well over time, especially if you use your sports pieces. So unless Swatch sells replacement NATOs, I would expect to have to look to the aftermarket for when these fabric straps wear out. Now, like a Blancpain 50 Fathoms, the lug bars are screwed in, and you will need 2.9mm hex wrenches to take this pin out. I'll link the cheap wrenches that I bought on Amazon for $5 in the description. They do the job well, but I wanted to search for an aftermarket strap. I wanted to go with something fitting for a 50 Fathoms watch, and the Blancpain version famously uses sailcloth, so I opted to go that route, and I got a navy Artem sailcloth to upgrade my Scuba 50 Fathoms Atlantic, and Artem makes the top aftermarket quality sailcloth that is available, so it really was an easy choice for me. This looks fantastic, and it makes that tie-in to Blancpain that much stronger, so I'll also link Artem below if you would like to go in a similar direction with your iteration. Now let's take a look at the movement. This is the automatic Sistem 51 caliber. It will be comprised of 51 separate parts and one central screw that attaches the rotor. It will have a free-sprung balance and a 90-hour power reserve. I much prefer this inexpensive automatic caliber to an inexpensive quartz caliber that Swatch really puts in most of their watches. Though to my understanding, this Sistem 51 is not meant to be serviced, meaning when it fails, after however many years it takes, this essentially will be a throwaway movement. And that, in my opinion, is not congruent with the marketing about biosourced or recycled materials that are used in the construction of this case and NATO strap. Now, the movement is not hackable, but to my observation, this movement has been keeping excellent time. Now, I will end with a couple personal opinions. Is this a $400 watch quality-wise? No. And it's not close. No sapphire, no hacking, no bracelet, no servicing of the movement, no to a lot of elements that are common at the $400 price segment. So is this strong spec-wise? No. In fact, I would say it is weak in that aspect. But is this worth the $400 retail price? In my opinion, that is an easy and strong yes. This watch is so fun. And it is far and away the most affordable way to get a Blancpain logo and likeness on your dive watch. The Scuba 50 Fathoms is playful, it's collectible, and it should spur some added interest in the Blancpain 50 Fathoms models. And as a watch fan myself, I can see the two not only easily being worn in the same collection, but that watch collection, that rotation would be funner than only, having one or the other within the rotation. Now, I feel like I know what this watch is and what it isn't. I personally get a lot of enjoyment from wearing this, and I hopefully will be sourcing the remaining 4 oceanic variations to complete the Blancpain Swatch Scuba 50 Fathoms collection. And hopefully those other 4 won't be too hard to come by. Unlike the Moonswatch, I absolutely want to collect each different variation. I would be upset if the Swatch group pulled the plug on these after a short amount of time, so I hope that these are in production for a long time to come. And I also look forward to what brand collaborates with Swatch next. I think the more dramatic the pairing, the better in my eyes. Now, lastly, I'll do a separate video about this excellent Artem sailcloth strap and detail exactly how to change out the lug bars. It's not very intuitive, so stay tuned for that if you have interest. Thank you for watching today, and let me know your thoughts about this release in the comment section.